Hello, my name is Gilbert Cordova. Today, my associate Gerald with Pro College Consulting will be going over all the details you'll need to know about college financial aid. But before we do, let me introduce myself. My name is Gilbert Cordova. I started my practice in 1989. I helped retirees with guaranteed income planning and safe money strategies. I've worked with some of the top CPAs and estate planning attorneys in the industry, and I've been featured as the Safe Money radio host throughout Southern California. I bring 35 years of experience to the table, and you can have peace of mind knowing you're in good hands with me and my association at Pro College Consulting. You can call me at 949-510-7510 or use the link below. Now, Gerald will take it from here and detail everything you need to know about college financial aid.
Hello, my name is Gerald, and I work at Pro College Consulting. I want to thank you for taking the time to join me on this webinar. I'll be discussing some different aspects about college planning and going over some of the changes in the upcoming FAFSA. I do want to mention that at a few points throughout the webinar, I will ask some questions which you can participate in through a poll. Keep an eye out for the submission box. There will also be a Calendly link available which you can use to schedule a meeting with the financial advisor in your area. I want to talk a little bit about the company I work at. Pro College Consulting and the CEO, Ronnie J, have been helping families across the country send their students to the college of their choice for 29 years. Now, Pro College Consulting is the leader in short-term college aid planning. Thousands of financial professionals around the country use their service. And like I said, we've helped thousands of students across the country attend the college of their choice by helping families lower their EFC and find schools that meet the highest percent of need. To really start diving into this, I want to share an article from the Wall Street Journal by Melissa Korn. I have part of it up here on the screen, and I just want to highlight a few relevant pieces of the article. The main point I want to touch on is that schools deliver financial aid packages that are misleading. The packages lack important information that can be helpful when comparing schools. Consequently, some students end up enrolling in colleges that they can't actually afford. The Government Accountability Office, who conducted the review, found that 91% of schools do not properly list their net price, and nearly half of those schools did not even include a net price at all. And this comes from a sample of 176 colleges around the country. Now, 2 out of 3 schools did not include important details relating to the eligibility of student aid. And what I mean by that are details such as maintaining above a certain GPA or needing to take a certain number of credits per semester. Now, what is a college financial aid planner? A financial aid planner works for you. They don't have any interest in any particular school, agency, or lending institution. The planner's job is to help the family receive the best possible aid package, and they only care about the client. The planner does this because they have a thorough understanding of the financial aid process. The end result can be hundreds or thousands of dollars in increased aid eligibility. This is the same as tax accountants who suggest tax reduction strategies to their clients. With the college costs that families are faced with today, you need all the help you can get. So now I have a poll question. How many of you have attempted to fill out a FAFSA form? For those of you that have filled out this form before, you know that it asks for a lot of financial information, and sometimes it can get tricky figuring out what you should or shouldn't include. For those that have not filled out a FAFSA before, I'm going to talk about it a little more in the next slide to give you an idea of what it's all about. Either group you're in, whether you have or have not filled out this form, I want you to know that we at Pro College Consulting are experts here. Please use that free consultation to your advantage and let us answer any questions you may have. Now, what's the FAFSA? This FAFSA form is the first thing that colleges look at when determining who qualifies for financial aid. This form is also how your family qualifies for the Pell Grant, and it's a free application. Each year, billions of dollars in federal aid is left on the table by students who didn't file the FAFSA. Remember, if you don't file, you can't qualify. Now, you automatically qualify for a low interest federal loan just by submitting the FAFSA. And some merit-based scholarships require the FAFSA to help them determine scholarship amounts. Now, one important thing to know is that the FAFSA must be submitted each year. The good thing about Pro College Consulting is we will file this form for you for all undergraduate years. And I want to talk about some changes in the FAFSA. One big one is the change from EFC, that's expected family contribution, to SAI, which is the Student Aid Index. And the FAFSA Simplification Act brought a redesign of the process used to award federal student aid, and that's starting with the 24-25 academic year. The SAI, like the EFC, is still used to assess the amount of financial aid a family should be awarded. In the past, families were led to believe that the expected family contribution calculated the amount of money a family was expected to pay, and this simply was not true. The new name more accurately reflects the job of this number, to give an idea of the amount of student aid a family is eligible to receive. This redesign affects the methodology used to determine aid, as well as it allows for different levels of the Pell Grant. Now, the needs analysis formula, which is how colleges determine what financial aid a family needs, is going to remain more or less the same. The cost of attendance minus the EFC, which is now called the SAI, equals the eligibility for need-based aid. Now, you may look at that bullet that mentions less questions and think that that means the FAFSA is going to be easier, but this may not be the case. One thing to consider is that with less questions comes greater generalization and ambiguity. It may be even less clear exactly what financial information is actually being requested. Now I want to talk about the CSS profile. And this is known as the College Scholarship Service Profile, and it's done through the College Board. Colleges use this form to help distribute aid from sources such as endowment funds. The profile becomes available starting October 1st, and each school has its own deadline to submit the form. Colleges that use the CSS profile require more information than what the FAFSA asks. This is so the school's financial aid office can have a better idea of a family's financial situation. And two student CSS profiles may have some differences, although there will be a lot of overlap. This is because each college has their own formula to decide how much money to award. In addition to a school's regular deadline, there are also early decision and early action deadlines depending on the school. Filing within this early decision period gives the greatest chance of receiving maximum potential aid, and it's important to file early to maximize that financial aid. So now I want to talk about the cost of attendance of some schools. The cost of college increases every year, and that's why it's important to take advantage of a financial aid planner to maximize the amount of financial aid that you can receive. It's expensive no matter where you attend. Books, room and board, living expenses all add up. 4 years of college can easily total over $100,000. But with the right planning, even a private 4-year college can cost the same or even less than a public college. It's not impossible to get Stanford's price to look a little more like Michigan State, but you have to know the tricks and you have to make the plan. Don't see your school here? No worries. During the one-on-one consultation, we can help you determine the sticker price of a school that your student is interested in. So please take advantage of that free one-on-one consultation using the Calendly link or the phone number or email. So now I want to talk about the families that don't know the tricks and don't make the plan. Parents that dive in with no plan for paying for college end up overpaying for all the costs associated with college. This results in families taking on too much debt, ultimately reaching into their savings, and this can eventually ruin retirement plans. Parents who do not earn all the financial aid they qualify for end up dealing with additional stress from this looming money sink. When you're paying $30,000 a semester, time flies by fast. Before you know it, you're paying another $30,000. Now, all of this is completely avoidable, but only if you look in the right places and take all the steps needed to secure college funding. So I want to talk about a couple more mistakes that really cost families. Many families forego filing the FAFSA at all because they believe they make too much. And this could not be further from the truth. Parents do not give themselves a chance to get financial aid money, and they disqualify themselves from the start. By doing that, not only do you not receive money, but you're leaving more money on the table for schools to give out to other students. Remember, you automatically qualify for a low interest federal loan when you file the FAFSA. Parents and students may not realize that they need to file a separate financial aid form, and that's that CSS profile, and that's for the students' selected schools. Even if the FAFSA was completed, the schools that require the CSS profile, if that's not submitted, they cannot provide any financial aid. Another mistake that families make is waiting until the last minute. If you don't file early, the chances that your student will get all the aid they qualify for drops dramatically. Waiting until later to submit the financial aid forms guarantees that the schools are going to have less money to award. And even if your family would qualify for full tuition coverage, if the financial aid forms are filed too late, you may not receive any money. Now, there's three types of deadlines. There's the college deadlines, and these are important when you're applying for aid from a college, and these deadlines vary by school. Those are things like the early action and early decision deadlines I mentioned earlier. There's state deadlines. This is important when you're applying for aid from your state. And lastly, there's a federal deadline, which is June 30th, but we don't recommend waiting that long because, again, you want to file early. It's best practice to submit before your earliest college's deadline. On the FAFSA, there are some types of assets that are not included, and this is things like your primary home. Many parents make the mistake of adding the value of these protected assets, which lowers the amount of aid their student will qualify for. And finally, one of the biggest mistakes is not negotiating low financial aid packages. We know exactly how much you should be awarded, and Pro College Consulting makes sure that you don't make these mistakes. Let's talk about how to get more need-based aid for college. It's a two-step process. The first step is lower your EFC. This helps you qualify for more financial aid awards like the Pell Grant. And this is done by moving your assets and protecting them so they're not counted on the FAFSA. This is the job of the financial advisor because they know exactly what assets need to be protected. The second step is selecting schools that offer larger financial aid packages. Some schools, like Johns Hopkins, will cover 100% of a family's need, but many schools cover somewhere between 60% to 85%. I want to talk about who is eligible for financial aid. There are some common misconceptions, one of them being that parents think that their income is too high. Another one, they think that scholarships only come from merit. Some say if my child does not qualify for need-based aid, there's no hope. And one big one, parents think that it's a simple, easy, and fair process. In reality, families that make upwards of $400,000 a year can receive financial aid from many sources. This includes private and federal scholarships. College institutions provide financial aid based on many different factors: need, merit, college major, extracurriculars. Even being the first one in your family to attend college can help out. Now, the FAFSA used to provide an EFC reduction for families with multiple children attending college at the same time. With the changes made to the new legislation, FAFSA no longer reduces family contribution due to the number of college attendees. Remember, the EFC to SAI changed a few things. One big one is that multiple students in college no longer reduce a family's EFC. Now, I want to talk about the types of financial aid that are available. There are four main types of financial aid. Scholarships and grants is the first one. Now, this is money that does not need to be paid back as long as requirements such as GPA are met. Some examples of this are federal Pell Grants, federal Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grants, and Teach Grants. Federal student loans is the second category. These are your direct subsidized or unsubsidized loans, also known as Stafford loans and Parent Plus loans. Work study is the third type, and this is money that is earned through working. Typically, the student will work at the college to earn this. The last type is all other loans. These are things like state and college loans and private loans. These type of loans are the worst for families to choose because the terms and conditions are usually way worse than with federal loans. Many schools also offer tuition payment plans, which may help reduce the amount of loans that are needed. Here's another question that you can leave a response to. Do any of your child's schools require the CSS profile? I've mentioned this form a few times in this webinar. Remember, not every college requires it. Many people are not going to know if the school requires a CSS profile. They're going to have to do some research. But I can tell you who does know. Your college planner and Pro College Consulting. We even help you file it. Let's talk about some other things we do. We create a student profile report. We take your family's income and assets, that's all the financial information, and we show you what you can expect from colleges in terms of financial aid. We also give some additional information to help you pick the best schools for your student. We consider things like major and interests, test scores, grades, and school acceptance rates. Now, this is a large report, and we don't stop after just generating it. Your college planner will go through this with you to make sure you understand it and are well informed when deciding on colleges. Here's a few more services we offer. We have a financial aid analysis team that will help you when you start receiving those aid letters. Remember what I said at the beginning with the article? These letters can be very confusing, and we do not want you accepting a low funding offer. In the case that you do get a letter with low funding, we help you draft letters to negotiate a better package. And we have a pretty good idea of what you should be getting, and we have a great track record of making sure schools match it. Now, I touched on a lot of these points before, but here's our promise. This is a comprehensive list of all the services we have. Now, we provide a free consultation, and you should use this opportunity. If you're a couple of years away from college, you can benefit. If you've already started college, you can benefit. There's a saying that I like that goes, the best time to start is yesterday. The second best time is today. This is not something that you want to wait on. One other thing I would like to touch on here is that if you're preparing for the admissions process, we have some tools to help. We can help polish your college essays. We can send over study books to raise your SAT and ACT scores. And we also know the best companies for student loans if you end up needing any additional money. Two things that families really enjoy from Pro College Consulting is the completion of the FAFSA and CSS profile forms. Remember, these forms can be tricky, and we make sure that everything is correct and only the information required is on it. I'd like to thank you all for watching the webinar, and I just want to remind you once again that we are always ready to help no matter what your situation is. I encourage you to connect with us through our phone, email, or calendar and see how we can help. Thanks again.